All right, lady and gentlemen. Welcome to the late September meeting of the New York City Transit Authority, its subsidiary MABSTOA, and its affiliate Staten Island Rapid Transit Operating Authority, all of which is known as the Transit Committee for short. We welcome once again our dynamic CEO and president of our parent authority, Joe Loda. You've broken an all-time record by attending all of our meetings since your appointment. Welcome, Joe. Are there... No, you don't have to. Do we have any public speakers?
Yes, we have one public speaker, and that is Murray Bowden.
Know a lot of things, but not that. Good morning, everyone. When this issue of going from 11 meetings to 8 came up, the Wall Street Journal called me to ask my opinion on it. One of the things I said was there were some presidents of organizations here that were doing a spectacularly excellent job, besides Chairman Loda. In particular, I was talking about Tom and his tag team mate. I think you're a team. It didn't quite make it, but specifically I wanted to say that I think that you guys do the kind of job that has to be done in the future. And you set the standard about doing things in a way that need to be done today. And so I want to make it clear here that when I said there are people doing an excellent job here, you're the guy that I was talking about, and Michael. That said, we have to go back to square one sometimes and look at little things that have been going on that just kind of slipped by because we were busy dealing with the big ones. You do this report, and everybody does a report, and it's not just here, but it's everywhere. There's a little mistake that keeps being made, and it keeps being repeated over and over again. This is the sheet that says Committee Work Plan. And this is the page that follows it. It says 2012 Transit Committee Work Plan. At some point, somebody's going to say we don't need this sheet. Very small item, meaningless item, and often ignored, but repeated thousands of times in every committee.
Mr. Bowden, please sum up.
This is an opportunity to ask a question and say something, and I'm sorry if I've run over to 2 minutes, but that's another thing that needs to change. We need to be able to have 15 seconds to direct a question to anybody here, and the chairman at his discretion could allow 1 minute for one of you to answer my question quickly. There needs to be a cultural change in the way these things are happening. As you've changed cleaning up the tracks, that has to be changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden.
All right, are there any, you've seen the minutes for the June meeting, if any of you can remember back that far, it's in the book. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes. All in favor? Any opposed? The minutes are adopted. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our newest committee member. This is the first time in the 47-year history of the MTA that someone who appointed us, thank you very much, Governor, by the way, for that, has himself been appointed to our board and to our committee. You honor us by joining us in your long career of public service. Welcome to unpaid public service. Are there any changes to the work plan? I will now turn the meeting over to our fabulous President, Tom Prendergast. Tom?
Congressman Bianco, I'd ask you to give the subway performance indicators, please.
Sure, thank you. Good morning, everyone. everyone. Subway performance results for the month of July and the 12-month average were appropriate are as follows. Subway weight assessment, the 12-month rolling average for system-wide subway weight assessment was 79.2 in July of 2012. That's up a half a percentage point from 78.7 in July of 11. Weight assessment in the IRT improved in both weekdays and weekends by 2.9% and 4.1% respectively, even though terminal on-time performance dropped significantly on several lines. This reflects our continued effort to manage headways centrally from the Rail Control Center to improve service quality. And I'll say more about that in a moment. On-time performance, terminal on-time performance for July of 12 was as follows. Weekday OTP was 83%. That's a decrease of 2.5 percentage points from 85.5 in July of 11. And weekend OTP was 88.1. It's a decrease of 0.6% from 88.7 in July 11. Weekday terminal on-time performance on the IRT was down 4.9 percentage points in July 2012 as compared to July of 2011, due to an unusually large number of very disruptive incidents. System-wide, there were 15 incidents, each of which resulted in 100 and more delays. There's one example I'd like to show you just how quickly one delay can impact service. We had a ruptured signal airline south of Grand Central on Monday, July 30th, and it took us a couple of hours, almost 5 hours, to be able to find the leak and fix it. And as a result of that, over 460 trains were delayed. So especially on the IRT where the line is at capacity, it doesn't take much to see delays occur. Compared to 2011, the IRT also experienced a significant increase in overcrowding delays in July of 2012 that we attribute to significant ridership growth. Interesting anecdote on that, we had senior leadership actually out looking at, because we're really trying to spend a lot of time really trying to understand what's causing our delays on the right-of-way. And we actually were experiencing delays due to overcrowding where there was nothing wrong on the line at all, just as a result of the ridership that we have out there today, which is, at its highest level in many, many years. Moving over to weekend OTP on the 2 line was down significantly due to delays associated with the July 4th fireworks, a switch failure at 241st Street on Saturday, July 21st, and a signal failure on 96th Street on Saturday, July 28th, and also scheduled work gangs. Those incidents combined were a result of 460 delays. Moving on to mean distance between failure for the month of July at 130,235 miles, it was up 5.1% from 123,972 in July of 11. The 12-month rolling average was 166,229. That's down 4.5 percentage points from 174,113 in July of 11. However, within 1% of this year's goal of 168,000 miles. I would like to acknowledge, just take a moment now that we are, the summer months are by us, to talk about the air conditioning and the experience we had with AC on the fleet. We had an excellent summer. It was one of the hottest summers on record. We were averaging over 99% per day. I mean, we did have a few hot cars here and there, but by and large, the cars were cool. We received a lot of compliments, and that I really like to give the credit to our car equipment employees. They did a great job in preparing for the summer, and the fleet behaved just the way they prepared it. So congratulations to our employees and for a job well done. Moving on to key performance indicators, service KPI was 82.3%. That was down 0.7% from 83 in July of 11. And the passenger environment survey KPI was 90.7. That's down 0.8% from 91.5 in July 11. For the Staten Island Railway, the service KPI is not reported. However, their PES score was 90.8, up 6.2% from 84.6 in July 11. Moving on to Fast Track, we concluded our 12th installment of Fast Track on Thursday, September 6th on the Lexington Avenue line between Grand Central, 42nd Street, and Atlantic Avenue. Our next Fast Track program begins tonight on the 6th Avenue line between 59th Street and West 4th Street Station, 57th Street. Moving on to our overtime report for the quarter, Subway's overtime results for the first 6 months of 2012 exceeded budget by $7 million. $2 million of that was paid in January for work done in the previous year as part of the cash out, the overtime cash out program. This is a one-time annual payment. The remaining expenditures were necessary to maintain safety, avoid interruption to service, and maintain cleanliness and appearance of our stations. They included $1.4 million for critical safe signal maintenance, $2.4 million to cover service-related vacancies, that's train operators and station agents, and avoid service impacts, and then $1.3 million towards maintaining station conditions. We continue to monitor overtime closely and have increased hiring levels in service-critical positions where vacancies are filled by employees on overtime. In addition, we are restructuring employee schedules and work processes in critical maintenance areas to ensure high levels of production from employees during their normal work hours and to reduce the amount of work that is needed to be completed on overtime. That concludes the operations report.
Mr. Bianco, quick question if I may. To the extent that overcrowding is a serious contributing factor to delay, are measures available such as the installation of these doors on the platform or the like to control that? Are there any measures to control it?
Well, the measures that we choose, given the operation that we have today, is to really look at service evenness. I mean, that is the best measure that we have out there, is to make sure, and you can see it, the on-time performance suffered a little bit this month, but what we really concentrated on was making sure that when we say we're going to deliver a train, that it's there at the right interval. If we say 5 minutes, it's going to be there in 5 minutes, or 3 minutes, it's 3 minutes. So that's how we really try to keep up with the overcrowding issue that we have today.
I'd like to add that before you even go to platform doors, we can do things like add platform conductors. And you add platform conductors, you'll see them down at Grand Central on the Lex line here for two reasons. One of which is safety, to make sure that we don't have anything that the conductor on board the train can't see, they can see. But they also help expedite the boarding and lighting of customers. And so those are some activities, those are some actions you can take in advance of putting on platform doors.
I should add, for what it's worth, that during the Olympics, the London Underground system used that extensively to control crowding on the underground stations, and it worked absolutely superbly. I didn't witness any problems at all.
We're also, in addition to state platform folks who will be there, we're evaluating right now some form of a campaign so that we inform New Yorkers the best place to stand when a train comes in, and to let the people off the train and then get on the train. We're finding that there's a lot of people who stand right in front of the doors. I understand why. So that they can get in, but at the same time they're not letting people out. That holds up the trains significantly, especially in stations like 42nd Street and 34th Street in particular. So, you know, it's all part of some form of a campaign on trying to have people use the system a little bit differently and a little bit more intuitively.
Any more questions for Carmen? Andrew?
Carmen, on the system-wide terminal delays, it's really shot up 23.1%. Is that due to the incidents on the IRT that you were talking about, or is there another thing at work here?
No, I think it's a combination. If you look at the overcrowding, that has shot up specifically as one category, but a lot of it's in the track gang and the right-of-way work. As a matter of fact, we see a high number of delays that are occurring in our right-of-way work, which is our scheduled work, right?
So when you say track gangs, is this gangs that haven't gotten out in time to start them?
No. These are gangs that are out there doing critical maintenance. They're out there doing their job, and 50% of those delays is scheduled work where they're happening in the middle of the night when we have most of our maintenance crews out there. So this is a balancing act of trying to make sure that we're getting through all of our critical maintenance, keeping the railroad reliable. They are going up. We're continuing to look at that, though, because it's something we need to know. We need to know what's causing that, what's driving that.
Anyone else? Okay, Cheryl Kennedy, we're up on safety. Are we safer?
Safety results are as follows. In the month of June, the customer accident rate increased by 13.8%, moving to 2.80 per million subway customers from a rate of 2.46 in June last year. For the 12-month period, however, the subway customer accident rate decreased by 6.4%. The employee lost time accident rate decreased by 9.4% for the month of July 2012 versus July 2011. The rolling 12-month rate was 3.23, a decrease of 5% from 3.40 over the previous 12-month period. There were 74 confirmed fires for the month of July, down 19.6% from the previous year. Additionally, fires decreased over the last 12 months by 19.9%. 100% of all fires were categorized as being low or average in severity for the month of July.
Thank you, Cheryl. Chuck?
Ms. Kendi, the increase in customer injuries in June
Yes.
seems to parallel the increase in customer injuries on the Long Island Railroad. And I wonder if there is some reasoning, some factor that coincides here that may be worth your taking a look at.
We took a look at it in general, and overall the slip, trip, and fall category was where we saw the increase on stations and station platforms. In addition, we took a look at the stations, and basically it's our high volume stations, which is to be expected. You'd have more passenger, more exposure at those stations, but it was slip, trip, and fall incidents that we saw an increase.
How about doors?
We didn't
didn't
see
have
an
any
increase
problems
of
with those?
doors. No.
Chuck, one of the issues, sorry Tom, one of the issues that we experience when the weather gets warmer are more and more people wearing rubber, dollar, flip-flops, which are inconsistent with safety, especially on the subway system, and that's what's going on, and it's really unfortunate.
We also tend to see an increase in the number of sick customers, and long before somebody gets sick, they may start to become dizzy or whatever, but in the high heat months, especially in the morning, we'll see that. It bears looking at. We don't want to say anything's a trend until we have statistics that back it up, but all those factors need to be looked at.
All I was trying to do was to see if there was any parallel that is worth taking a look at.
We'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Coming up with some ideas.
Okay.
Okay, speaking of parent authority, we're next going to turn to crime with Chief Joseph Fox of the New York City Police Department. Joe?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, sirs. Members of the committee, good morning. Good morning, all. As a result of sustained efforts by the New York City Police Department, we're reporting a major crime in the New York City subway system has decreased over the last 2 months. During the month of July 2012, there were 219 felonies committed within our system, a 6.4% decrease from the 234 felonies in July of 2011. This reduction was followed by a decrease of 6.5% in August, with 230 reported in our system compared to 246 in August of 2011. These are encouraging numbers, and the Transit Bureau is working at sustaining this decrease through different initiatives that we've put in place. In June of 2012, the three multi-bureau crime prevention operations were initiated within the subway system. All three initiatives involve increased uniform presence in our subway system. In the first initiative, transit crime prevention officers collaborate with precinct crime prevention officers to disseminate crime prevention materials to subway rioters. These uniformed officers respond to a different borough each day and spend their entire tour of duty in the transit system. The second initiative involves the use of uniformed transit and patrol auxiliary officers to patrol various subways throughout the city on Friday nights. The third initiative involves the use of precinct impact officers to patrol subway stations. Impact officers are uniformed officers assigned to higher crime areas of our city. These precinct impact officers are separate from our transit impact officers and are primarily assigned to our streets. I believe that these three initiatives are reducing crime as potential criminals are deterred by their presence, uniform presence in our subways. Last time I appeared before this committee, I spoke about our weekend late-night train patrol program that was first instituted in the Bronx and then expanded to Queens. During the overnight hours, Friday and Saturday, in the Bronx and Queens, an officer rides every train from the first stop to the last stop within the borough. While boarding the train, when he boards the train or she boards the train, the officer requests that the train's conductor announce his or her presence on the train to alert all passengers and potential offenders that police assistance is readily available. The officer then moves from car to car as the train travels throughout the borough. This program has proven to be relatively successful, but limited to train patrols within the particular borough. To expand on the program's success, we have reassigned over 100 transit impact officers to this new initiative. These uniformed officers now conduct daily train patrol during the overnight hours on a citywide basis. In place of riding the trains solely within a borough, these officers ride each train on predetermined train lines from terminal to terminal. This expansion to the program has proven effective. Since July 16th, there has been a 20% decrease in overall major felonies on the trains, and these officers are riding, and this includes a 37% decrease in robberies. This reduction is compared to the same period in 2011 during the days and hours that these officers were working. They've issued 572 summonses and made 384 arrests. This reduction is not only credited to the increased police presence, but also the fine work of individual police officers in seeking out crime and arresting repeat offenders. One example of this excellent work occurred on August 11th at approximately 3 a.m. Officers Nicholas Beckos and Matthew Walker of the citywide late night train patrol program were conducting train patrol on the 7 line. When the train pulled into the Hunters Point station, they were summoned by a passenger who was standing on the station's platform. He informed the officers that a male later identified as Carlos Camarena accosted him on another 7 train and stole his iPhone. The victim then identified the suspect, who was still on the platform, and upon seeing the officers, the perpetrator ran out of the station onto the street. Both officers chased him and apprehended him outside the station with the phone still in his possession. Although Camarena is only 20 years old, this is the second time he was arrested for robbery. These late-night train patrols have proven to increase safety on our trains, and the increase in police presence in every station that these trains pass through is also quite effective. Another key component to the Bureau's crime reduction efforts has been a recent boost in personnel. As I mentioned during the previous committee meeting, 108 police officers were assigned to the Transit Bureau directly from the Police Academy on June 29th. All of these officers were assigned to our Transit Bureau Impact Program. Our officers are truly committed to fighting crime. Even as they conduct what is often considered routine enforcement, they are always at risk of serious injury. In one such case, on September 7th, officers Radisha Cardi and Saranjit Day of Transit District 33 were conducting anti-crime patrol in civilian clothes at the Gates Avenue station. While patrolling the station, they observed a 25-year-old male, later identified as Michael Ellison, use a student MetroCard to gain entry into the station. The officers identified themselves, attempted to stop him, and as they were apprehending him, Ellison attempted to punch Officer Cardi in the face, but he missed. She grabbed the suspect's arm and attempted to subdue him. However, the suspect pushed Officer Cardi down a flight of stairs. The fall broke her right ankle in 2 places and caused her to suffer a laceration above her eye that requires stitches to heal. Ellison fled the scene and was apprehended the next day by detectives of the Transit Robbery Squad. He's currently incarcerated in Rikers Island and has been arrested 24 previous times, mostly for violent offenses. Officers know that every time they approach a suspect, even for the most minor offenses, they could be encountering a violent perpetrator. Still, they continue to enforce the laws, serving and protecting our commuters. Finally, as the committee is well aware, school is back in session. Over 1 million students travel to and from school every weekday, many of them using the subway system as a mode of transportation. We are well prepared to meet the challenge of providing a safe environment for our youth. Every transit district has dedicated units that are tasked with addressing school conditions. These officers are frequently posted in stations in the vicinity of schools and where they often congregate, where the students often congregate. These school units actively look for truants, ensuring that teenagers and younger children are not riding the subway when they should be in school. Additional officers are posted at these locations as part of our Safe Passage program during dismissal times. Officers assigned to the Safe Passage program are tasked with ensuring that these students pass through our subways and reach their destination in a safe manner. There is no higher priority than the safety of our children. We are committed to providing the the safe environment that our children deserve. I thank you, Mr. Joe Loda, Tom Prendergast, Carmen, and members of the board for your continued support, and I welcome any questions or suggestions.
Thank you, Chief Joe Fox. Questions for the Chief? Chuck?
Chief, the reduction in crime that you've mentioned over the past couple of months hopefully is the beginning of a trend, because year over year it has increased. And my question is the following. Your folks do a fine job of deterring by their mere presence. They do an increasingly improved job in terms of apprehension and arrest. My question is, many of the examples you have cited today and in the past are incidents where there is recidivism in terms of people doing it again and again and again and getting caught and just going through the system. Part of the pipeline is just hidden in a cloud, which is what happens when they're caught? What happens in terms of prosecution? What happens in terms of punishment? Now, I'm aware that the chairman has been in touch with each of the district attorneys to try and see if he can focus their attention directly on it, and also with the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice Coordinator in connection with the possibility of a transit park. But the issue I have is, do you folks receive any statistics at all from the courts and from the prosecutors that indicates how many of these folks have just gone through the turnstile and gotten a slap on the wrist?
Mr. Muldrow, that information is, of course, available to us, and the relationship that we have with each of the county's district attorneys is an excellent relationship of cooperation and follow-up and dedication, and we get that from all levels. Myself with the DAs, our executives and my team, as well as the COs and the officers. So we follow each case, but as far as the statistics, as far as prosecution rates and such, that would really be up to each district attorney. But any case or anybody that I've mentioned here on a case-by-case basis in a forum other than this meeting, of course, you could contact me, and I will give you the information we have.
That you can continue to do an excellent job together with your men and women. But if at the other end there is not the kind of activity, attention that discourages people from doing this, we're just going to have this vicious cycle go on and on forever. 20, 30 times they're apprehended, and they just do it again and again.
But there is that commitment, Chuck, and I see it every day, and I've forged renewed relationships with each of the DAs, and we absolutely get that commitment.
Chief, as always, thanks for everything you and your men and women of the NYPD do. This late night program where officers are riding the trains, are they instructed to move between cars or be stationary, or?
They move between amongst the cars to maximize their presence.
And that includes cars that are locked, and that means they have to go out on the platform at every station.
Right, and they go out and then to back in.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
From the Deep South. Chief, just following up on my colleague Mr. Merdler's comments to you, I'm a firm believer in sunshine as a cure for a lot of our ills. That exposing things to the media, exposing things to the public, have a way of sanitizing the process. And I don't think that enough attention gets. I mean, the district attorneys may have a great relationship with your staff and with our agency in general, but in their worlds, this is a small part of what they're doing. And I think it's incumbent upon us to focus attention on individuals who commit particularly serious crimes in our system, especially when it's against our employees, our police officers. The bus driver was assaulted again the other day. And in making sure that we're all, as a board
and that the community at large is satisfied that that this is being followed vigilantly and that these people are being prosecuted. We cannot allow people to commit violent acts against our passengers or employees, and until we create a system by which we are tracking and saying, Joe Jones or Mary Smith, did this on such and such day, and this is what occurred. I'm personally not going to be satisfied, and I don't think that this process is going to be satisfactory to the public.
Well, we actually have that system borough by borough, and I'm convinced of the commitment, and I'm also convinced that a crime is treated as a crime, and that not other than assaults of employees. If a robbery happens on the subway system, it's given the same priority as if it happened in the street. I'm sure of that.
Alan, are you interested in having their names published, people who have been convicted? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how to implement what your request is.
I'd like to know first of all, I would like to know when somebody assaults a bus driver, okay, or they assault one of our officers or our token booth clerks or one of our other employees, I'd like to know what happened. Okay, at a minimum, okay, that, this person was convicted, they got probation, they got, they got a prison sentence, or whatever the appropriate, just so that we can make a judgment that these things are being handled in a way that's satisfactory.
I'll ask Doug Ziegler to, as we move forward, get all of the information and who was arrested and what was the disposition of that arrest, including whatever the penalty was in accordance with that.
Thank you.
In another lifetime, the chair of this committee and I served in an administration which had the same problem in the housing area. And we tried to deal with it in three ways. One, you have a housing court. Recidivism is indicated there. Appropriate punishment can be inflicted at that point. Two, we had lists of the 100 worst landlords and the people who violated. That became public. And as that information became public, and as the media focused on it, there was a desire not to be on that list. And thirdly, there was continuing focus on the entire subject. I have no doubt that the police department is doing everything it can. I have no doubt that the MTA and New York City Transit is doing everything they can. My inquiries of lower level enforcement people in the district attorney's office indicate, offices, two of them in particular, indicates this is, as Alan has accurately referred to it, as small potatoes. We have much more serious things. Well, as a former mayor of the city once said, squeegee people become criminals on a far broader scale. And that applies here, Mr. Chairman.
The multitude of, when I've spoken to the courts and I've spoken to the mayor's office, the number of crimes that are in and continue to be in the housing areas are at a multiple of what we are experiencing here. It's going to take a lot to convince them to create a transit bureau as they have a housing division within the court system, given the multitude that they have. But I do think you served in the Lindsay administration. I was only 12 years old. Don't put me in that category.
Chairman, you have grown up well, but having said that, it may be a small multiple, but it is that kind of multiple. I thank you for what you're doing.
I don't mean to take light of it. I've said this over and over again, and I mean this every time I say it. An assault on anyone who works at any division of the MTA is an assault on all of us. And what I see going on with the bus drivers today, throughout all 5 boroughs, it is actually a horrible situation that we have to put our drivers in this kind of a situation. And we're doing everything we can to both protect them as well as to try to prevent the recidivism that's going on. And so, thank you. And actually, just one other point, because it inevitably will come up. What's become clear in the last week or so are some of the other things that go on in the subways. And I am also working with members of the legislature to make it a felony to deal with men who rub up against women. I just want to make that clear. I think it might become an issue later on today in any of our discussions. And I think I'm using that as an opportunity to remind members of the legislature of what's happening to our workers as well. So I'm trying to it's not a natural to tie them together, but it's an opportunity to work with them.
May I just have one final footnote? When you try and press the city to focus on this, or the Office of Court Administration, it only takes 1 or 2 judges in a part to get it moving and to get rid of these cases, even if it's only part-time.
Do we have more writers or less, Tom?
Actually, finance first, then ridership.
Finance.
More money.
Sure. Preliminary July 2012 fare box revenue was $315.5 million, 4.2 million or 1.3% above forecast. Year-to-date fare box revenue was $2.157 billion, 5.7 million or 0.3% above forecast. The average non-student fare in July 2012 was $1.639, just about $1.64. In constant 1996 dollars, the July average fare fell from $1.38 in 1996 to $1.08 in 2012.
Would you say that again?
In constant 1996 dollars, the July average fare fell from $1.38 in 1996 to $1.08 in 2012. Preliminary July 2012 operating expenses before depreciation and other than personnel expenses exceeded the forecast by $33.2 million or 2.9%. Labor expenses were higher by $33.8 million due primarily to NYCER's accrued pension expenses based on recent actuarial information. Overtime expenses were also above forecast. Non-labor expenses underran forecast by 0.6 million. Year-to-date operating expenses were above forecast by $20.4 million. Labor expenses were higher by $39.2 million or 1.2%, due mostly to the higher NYCER's accrued pension expenses and increased overtime requirements for vacancy and employee availability issues, for signals, track, and bus maintenance. Non-labor expenses were less than forecast by $18.8 million or 2%, including the favorable timing of expenses benefiting several accounts and underruns in paratransit service contracts and electric power. Ridership. In July 2012, ridership totaled 191 million or 0.4% above forecast. Year-to-date ridership was 1.378 billion, basically the same as forecast. In July 2012, the average weekday subway ridership was 5.2 million, an increase of 2% from July of 2011. This was the highest average weekday subway ridership for any July in over 45 years, so that trend continues. The July 2012 average weekday local bus ridership was 1.9 million, a decrease of 1% from the prior July in last year. In July 2012, average weekday express bus ridership was 41,000, an increase of 2.7% from July of the previous year. The average weekday paratransit ridership was 29,000, an increase of 2.8% from July of 2011. An early look at preliminary August 2012 financial results indicate that total fare box revenue was 8.2 million or 2.6% above forecast, mostly due to higher than forecasted subway ridership, so that trend continues. Preliminary August 2012 operating expenses were favorable to forecast by 2.5 million or 0.5%. That concludes the financial and ridership reports.
Questions for Tom? If not, we'll turn to Fred Smith.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Good morning. Looking at capital results, our new commitments for the 2-month period, June and July, totaled $875 million, including the purchase of 300 new R179 B Division subway cars, construction of a new ventilation plant at Mulberry Square in Manhattan, a purchase of 54 new express buses, and the installation of an ADA-compliant elevator and accessible ramp at Dyckman Street on the Broadway 7th Avenue line, and rehabilitation of station components at the 149th Street Grand Concourse Station Complex for both White Plains Road and Jerome lines. Meanwhile, in June and July, substantial completions totaled $297 million, largest being a $131 million project that addressed station elements at 7 elevated stations and segments of the elevated structure on the West End line that was primarily column bases in the street, and that included the opening of the ADA accessible elevator at Bay Parkway, which represents our 78th key station accomplished. Also the rehab of the Jackson Avenue ventilation plant, which now serves tunnel sections on 3 lines, Astoria, Queens Boulevard and Crosstown. Purchase of 90 40-foot low-floor compressed natural gas-powered buses. Platform replacement and enhanced accessibility at the 45th Road Courthouse Square Station on the IRT Flushing Line in Queens. And communications cable replacement work along the right-of-way in the Underriver Steinway 2.
I would like to add that tomorrow is an exciting day for us in the capital program standpoint side. In the equivalent of what you can say in Maine, which is you can't get there from here. We have had for years the problem of not being able to transfer northbound from the F to the Lexington Avenue line, and with the completion of the Bleecker Street project, which, if you read the article in the paper today, many people saying, you know, why couldn't this have been done years ago? But in any case, it is done, and we're going to have an exciting opening tomorrow of that station. And it's a very, very significant change to the flexibility and mobility of the system for our customers.
So all three of the old systems, the IND, the IRT, and the BMT, can all be accessed from one station, right? Is that right?
IND.
IND and IRT.
Oh, I got it all back.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready for
Yeah.
the
Now we're
MTA Capital Construction Company? This is headed by Dr. Michael Haradnachano, and our nickname for him, Dr. H, is now universal. So I don't think we're going to ever use your full name. You're going to be Dr. H only from now on, okay?
Just when he finally learned it.
Right. That's my faith of keeping with his name. What can I say? Fulton Center. This month we have completed the dome cladding, and we're continuing to install the curtain walls along Fulton Street. So the center is going to start looking from the outside, pretty much as going to be looking in 2014. In August, we reopened the transfer between the JZ and AC, as well as we have opened for customer use the AC mezzanine by providing, in fact, we remove all the columns, and it's providing a straight and unimpeded view. And we expect to install the escalators and elevators that will be operational on March 13. At Fulton Street 4-5 station, we continue to progress on the rehabilitation of the various historic elements, including the marble, terracotta, glass tiles, and mosaic tiles. And at the Cordon building, we expect to take down the scaffolding during the month of October. That means the outside will be at that point complete. The one of the things that we have also done is to reassess our interim customer benefit milestone for the Fulton Center, and have made some changes to benefit dates. These changes have been largely driven by anticipated security issues at the Day Street concourse and anticipated usage of the current configuration and congestion on the southbound 4-5 platform, elevator access, and maintenance. Just want to make sure that everyone understands that all of these elements are actually organically connected, and although a lot of the work has been completed, we are opening that in a logical fashion. I will explain a little more at the CPAC today, but just want to make sure that everyone understand that we will be opening the entrance to the 4-5 southbound next month, and Day Street entry point will be open, including an elevator that will take people to the platform level. I would like to, is there any questions on the Fulton? That's okay. Let me talk a bit about 7-line extension. One of the things that I'm going to show you briefly today is we employ what we refer to as the Building Information Management System that allows us to track construction progress on a weekly basis, both in an anticipatory way as well as to compare that with what we are doing. The August and September have been critical months for us from a construction point of view, as the core and shell at sites J, K, and L are being turned over to the system contractor, Skanska, as they can do their work as per schedule. Let me just start looking at that here. Site L and the ventilation building at 41st Street and Dyer Avenue. Basically, what I tried to show is what happened in July of 2012, and we are actually in the process of wrapping the building, and then show you where we are as of September. So that kind of gives you an indication as to our progress. All concrete work has been completed, and the louver installation is complete, and we, in effect, turned over the building to the system and finishes contractor at the beginning of August. Next. The Site J, this is the main station entrance and ventilation building, 33rd to 34th Street. This is actually a much more complex site. 11th Avenue is to the top, 34th Street to our right. This is where we are in June, and then we started to build the vertical shaft. Next. The September actually shows that we are able to meet the various milestones that we're looking for, and we're going to show you a cross-section to see how it looks from the other side, please. Bogdan. That actually, it's the picture from the other side that was in July, and then now it shows that we actually were able to go above ground 2 floors. Again, this is a very important piece of work here because we needed to transfer this to the people from the system people so they can start working. And although they were supposed to get the building sometime in September, again, end of August, we were able to allow them to come in, so to produce and perform the work. Right now, through August, about 85% of the work has been done, so we are now progressing to the next milestone. One of the things to show you, this is what we refer to as the building information management. We build this as a 3-dimensional, and we actually, the 4th dimension being the time. This is of June 30, 2011, and whatever, go back for a moment, don't be that fast. The blue is the work that we expect to complete, and then we go to the next one, that is the 14th of July, and now we see what has been accomplished and then what we need to do next. And again, August 11, and again, August 25th. So one can see actually as the work progresses, so we can manage it much better. We are actually putting in place a similar system now for East Side Access and 2nd Avenue, whatever is remaining to be done, so we'll be able to advance the work. Okay, September 19th, keep going. And this is as of today, that's where we are and what we expect to do. Okay, Site K, this is a ventilation building, 35th to 36th Street. This is actually progressing extremely well. This is a July 2012 picture, and this is where we are now. The building is almost complete, and in effect, we expect to complete that by the end of the month and turn it over. Right now, we're 87% complete, and that will be turned over to the systems. The system and finishes throughout tunnels, and this is actually the most challenging job because that's the one that puts it all together. This is just a picture that shows you where we are in the tunnel. You can't tell much by reading anything, but it gives you an indication where with the various systems that we have to put in place and the complexity of the work and how they all have to interrelate in order to get where we need to get. Next. Site P is actually a secondary station entrance that we just awarded. This will not be needed for revenue service. The only thing that wouldn't be needed for revenue service is this canopy that is done under this particular contract, and this is going to be at the where we needed to have. Okay? Done? Okay. Is there any questions on number 7? Yes.
Michael, so how far is the boring now? How far west has it reached? I mean,
26th Street.
it has gone all the way.
All the way.
And tracks are not installed.
Tracks are being installed. We have right now, the benches are in place, the concreting is done. Remember, we had an incredible advantage that somehow the contractors, they control the means and methods because we didn't specify, use precast. So that one of the reasons that things went as well, in my view, that it did. So we are pretty far down.
How far west do you think the tracks are at the moment?
We are installing it. I think there are tracks going from the Port Authority, and I think that they are reaching the cavern right now. Sean, are you here?
Yeah, the tracks we've installed from Times Square, and they go to just short of 8th Avenue. We have the rail in place. Just the rail has been, we're going to start actually the track installation within 2 weeks. And we're expecting that by the end of the year, the track and concrete from Times Square to North and Norton will be in place.
If you recall, I have actually showed you a little piece as to how we are bringing these rails all the way from Livonia through all the boroughs. It takes a couple of days, and they travel and get there. So kind of it's a very okay. Second, I'm sorry, John.
Dr. Horodnichanu, you see, it's really easy. Dr. Horodnichanu, to what extent, if any, is the fire department kept currently advised of developments, particularly in terms of construction work above grade, so that they will know in the event of a fire what the status of the building is, what the status of the work is, to assist them in firefighting? Is there any mechanism to do that, and if not?
Sure.
The fire department meets with us regularly, and they made us implement the corded standpipes in the tunnel and above ground. We meet the building department requirements for fire protection in our buildings, below and above ground.
And they know of any changes in advancing work as it goes along?
They come in and they inspect it, and they actually give us a time frame, and they dictate our time frame of what we have to do, when we have to do it. And they regularly come in.
Very good. Thank you.
Remember, folks, that Chuck was a buildings commissioner in a previous administration. Dewey, I think, or somebody like that. What's
Okay.
the big flower? Go on, Michael.
Second Avenue subway. First thing, I would like to begin my report by addressing the blasting incident that occurred in the shaft located at the northwest corner of 72nd Street and 2nd Avenue. We're excavating a station entrance as part of the ventilation building. On August 21st at approximately 12:45, there was an errant blast which produced more force than expected, causing a significant amount of debris to be released at street level. Fortunately, no one was hurt, no real damages to the infrastructure, or none actually. So immediately I suspended all work, and we have engaged in a very intensive and detailed investigation. The report is online and has been there right now for a couple of weeks, I believe. We have taken corrective actions, and some of it included a second licensed blaster that double checks what's happening. On September 14th, we have returned to blasting in the cavern, and the cavern is quite different in terms of the precautionary things needed, and we have tested our new protocol there. And after ensuring that all the safety measures were in place, we have then resumed blasting on September 19th in ancillary number 1 at the corner, the northwest corner of 69th Street. The Right now, the expectation is we may have a couple of blasts this week, and by the 30th we'll be done with blasting in the cavern, and the blasting in the ancillary shafts will continue until about February, March. We lost about 3 weeks on schedule there because of that. It does not affect the overall schedule, but just to be very precise, that's what happened. Yes.
How are you keeping the local community informed of this decision and moving forward?
We have in a number of ways. Number one, as soon as we've done that, I send in a letter via email to, basically in an email blast to elected officials, to community leaders, and to residents in the area. So they're all informed and they all were made aware that they can go to our website and actually look at it. In addition to that, we're continuing meetings. I was at a meeting with the 72nd Street community leaders presenting and discussing issues. We had 2 meetings since that happened with them. This coming Thursday night, I have the quarterly workshop in which I expect to have lots of people there, and that will be additional information provided. We are very careful to make sure that we keep the community abreast. In fact, I've resumed this Saturday tours, and we had well-subscribed 2 tours of about 80 people, 40 each, in the cavern where, in fact, things happen. So that is in order to basically be able to show people exactly what we're doing and where we stand.
Chuck?
Just one quick suggestion. To the extent you can, it would be useful, I would think, if you could send to the cable networks that broadcast in that area information as to when in the coming weeks they will be blasting or may be blasting, and they may carry special announcements. We already do that.
We send out an email blast daily prior to a blast, so everyone is notified every time we take a blast. You know, an email blast, right? I wasn't sure. Email notification. Basically, I was going to just say that work is moving forward and 96th Street station, we have, in effect, we have the finishes contract on board. The work is now moving forward rapidly, and we have 2 more contracts to award the finishes at the 72nd and 86, and with that we'll be done. So I will say that I'm done.
Very quick, Tom, maybe this is for you. Periodically, of course, if you've signed up, you get the email notifications of transit problems, and once again, I think I read that the ceiling in one of those barrel vault stations, whether 181 or 168, fell fairly recently.
It was 181st Street, and we had a piece of plaster on the underside of a structural beam. So it's a very thin section of plaster fall off over the platform.
So it wasn't a
area.
major.
It was nowhere near what the issues were at 168th or 191st.
But stations of that nature, of which there are 3 or 4 in the system, are being examined, I hope?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Just one more thing. The Community Information Center on 2nd Avenue, we expect to open it to the public around Thanksgiving.
All right, folks, despite the fact that we haven't met for 2 months, we have only 18 relatively small procurements. Would you like to present them, Steve, or should we throw them back until they grow up next month, then get a little bigger?
I'll take it.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning. The procurement package this month, which presents both New York City Transit and MTA CC procurements, includes 18 actions totaling $33.9 million in expenditures.
All right, the procurements are in the book. Does anyone have any questions?
I have
Chuck?
just one question, if I may.
it seems to me that we ought to, if you're not already doing it, getting some specific statistics and agreements on MBWE. If you look at a couple of these, Barbaro and a few others, we don't have, at least in the book, any understanding as to what the percentage of MBWE will be.
We can include those. There was an agreement to include statements like in Barbaro in terms of their past performance, and we attempted to do that.
But I'd like to know what the contract will provide that they will have to comply with, only because I want to be sure that it's there and that there is a tendency and a trend toward providing it in every possible instance.
Okay, any further questions? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the procurements. Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Procurements are carried. Action items.
We have a number of
You?
action. Yes, I'll do it. We have a number of action items this month, which include 2 staff summaries, both for board approval of new projects that need to be added to the 2010 through 14 capital program. The first is a request to add a new structural repair project to repair 2 tunnel portals and 0.6 miles of tunnel on the Broadway 7th Avenue line in Manhattan. The second request is a proposal for 2 new projects. The first project will cover the installation of help point devices in 102 selected subway stations, and the second covers the installation of a passenger station local area network, which is the local network within a station, because we have fiber that can get us to each individual station, but then we need a local network within the station to hang other communication devices off of. And this will be in 97 selected subway stations, which will support the rollout of not only help points, but the new fare payment system that we intend to go forward with later. 85 of the 97 stations will receive a full PS LAN throughout the entire station, so that both lengths of both platforms, for example, or as many platforms we have in the station, would have that PS LAN coverage so we could drop devices off them. And 12 will have only partial systems because we only need to be able to get that PS LAN to where the fare control area is. Ultimately, completion of these projects will result in help point intercoms being available to more than 50% of our subway ridership. Obviously, with 468 stations in the system, there's no way we can go forward with installation at all at one time, so we're focusing the installation at those locations that have the biggest return on the investment, basically the number of passengers that utilize those stations, and that's the way we're going to roll it out. And these help point intercoms, as you remember, provide 2 means of communication. One in the event of an emergency, through a red button somebody presses to say, I need help immediately. The other through the pushing of a green button, which would be more along the lines of customer information, I'm lost, I need to know where to go, etc. And both basically need approval.
Yes, because, go ahead, Chuck.
Are the LAN networks internet-based or internet accessible?
We can hang just about anything off it. I mean, one of the problems with an underground network is that you don't have access to the wireless communication capabilities above the street. So you could put antennas at different places in the station that would enable people to be able to access Wi-Fi either through third parties or through us. We could hang help points off them. We could hang other devices that were communication devices. As you know, for the B division, we need to be able to have train tracking and train arrival information. So it's a communication medium within the station environment is what the PS LAN is.
I'm not necessarily suggesting that that's access is desirable from a security standpoint. My question really is this a vehicle to make that possible?
Yes, yes,
be
absolutely.
made?
Yes, if you view the fiber optic network as the superhighway that connects all 468 stations together, the PS LAN network is the local street network within the stations to be able to access that.
All right, folks, because the passenger station local area network communication devices are technically a modification of the capital program, we need to have a motion. Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Service changes.
Yes, as we informed the board in July, restored and new services would begin to be implemented this fall, and although the majority of them will not be in place until the beginning of next year, I did want the committee to know that we have begun that process, and some actions actually were taken already that will be taken this month. The Q76, where we restored Sunday service actually on September 8th and initiated Sunday service on September 2nd. We will have service restorations go in effect on September 30th. That's the restoration of weekend service on the B2 in Brooklyn and the restoration of the X27 express service in Brooklyn on September 30th and initiating new Sunday service on the 17X in Staten Island. Peter Caffiero can talk about some additional service changes coming forward.
It's just a relatively minor one on the M60 in Queens, which is a bus from Harlem over to Astoria and then LaGuardia. The eastbound path is going to be has been revised to eliminate a difficult turn from Astoria Boulevard onto 82nd Street. It actually provides a slightly shorter path for our riders, and there's no intermediate bus stop affected, and no cost.
Any questions for Peter?
Actually, maybe for Tom. In your recent comments about the service restorations and how some of them are going to begin, are you putting signage on the stops to alert riders that this restoration is coming?
That Peter would be able to answer.
Oh, Peter. Okay.
Right. We've produced marketing's produced signs that are going on all the buses as these changes happen, and we are, as appropriate, updating the guided rides or reinstalling bus stops and guided rides along the route.
Great.
All right, Tom, back to you on special. Do you have any?
We have a number
reports?
of special reports in the book. We have one on basically mid-year forecast for New York City Transit and Staten Island Railways, the preliminary budgets for 2013, and the monthly status report that we provide on MetroCard. And I think if you've got any questions, I can answer them, or if you have questions later, I'll be glad to answer them. And lastly, there are final two reports in this section. One has to do with the expansion of the station canister pilot program. As you know, we had 2 stations in the system. We're now expanding that pilot to take a look at 2 stations in each of the boroughs. We have had mixed results in the sense that we're actually not seeing trash on the track, and we're seeing a lower amount of trash to be carried out of the stations. But 2 stations is not as successful, is not a large enough representative sample. I would like to restate what I've said before, though. Even if we find that this program is successful and bears merit for expansion, there are some stations we would never implement this at. I think it has to be select stations where the volume of customers are such that, and their behavior is such that we won't see a diminution in the level of trash that we have to remove or end up on the tracks.
Tom, in the stations where you have done this and you don't see appreciable increases in track litter, but people are wedging cups or things in other places, such as behind benches or in crevices in the walls, are cleaning staff being notified to look in those places that there may be litter in those places where there haven't been before?
I believe they are, but if you've got reports of that and we're missing it, by all means, we'll take those reports. But John Gato's here, and I know he'll take a note, and we'll make sure of that. I did notice a report in the paper. There was a station in Brooklyn, and a lot of the vendors up in the street were complaining there was more trash in and around their place, which I found interesting because some of the trash we end up on our system actually come from their system. But it's an experiment. It's a pilot. We need to evaluate it. The last item that I wanted to talk about was our customer satisfaction survey. They interviewed close to 2,000 people, and although you could say that the results are mixed, there were many areas where their perception of what the level of service and the quality of service have improved. We're obviously going to focus on those in terms of seeing what we can do to accentuate those, but also focus on those where the ratings actually decreased. If there's any questions on that, I can entertain them.
I have just one quick question. In the 2 stations where you have conducted the experiment, were there food vendors within the confines of the station, or?
I think Main Street may have food vendors there, but John, you're in the back. Would you happen to know off the top of your head? The others don't. Okay, Main Street does, though. And Main Street's a high-volume station. We were very surprised to see the results at Main Street. The behavior of the customers were exceptionally good, and we actually saw less trash. So that's why we need to expand it to see other places.
I was impressed with the customer satisfaction survey. Most of the customers seem to be far more satisfied, especially with escalators and elevators, which really surprised me also. But very well done.
You mentioned that the PES survey results are in there, as well as escalator and elevator performance, and you stated we are continuing to see a positive improvement in customers' perception and actually performance in terms of reliability and availability of escalators, and we'll just keep that effort going forward.
Bus committee will start in 2 minutes. I know, almost, we're almost there.